My parents always joked I wasn't their real kid. I returned the favor at their anniversary party. Ever since I was young, my parents relied on one exhausting punchline. They were fiercely obsessed with competitive sports and traditional literature. When I dropped soccer at age 10 to build circuit boards and learn Python, the cruel jokes officially began. At family dinners, my dad would loudly tell our relatives the maternity ward must have mixed up the bassinets, because no biological child of his would prefer a soldering iron over sports. When I got into an engineering program instead of business school, the bit became their absolute favorite icebreaker. They'd introduce me to strangers by saying, "This is our resident stranger." We're still waiting for her real parents to show up and claim her. My older sister, Madeline, never got the stranger treatment. She played tennis, majored in business, and married a corporate lawyer. She was exactly what they wanted. At her wedding, my dad raised his champagne flute and toasted to the one child we can definitively prove is ours. Everyone chuckled. My aunt patted my arm in sympathy, but it felt like a jagged knife twisting in my gut. The joke even ruined my romantic life. I brought a serious boyfriend to Thanksgiving, and my mom spent the entire dinner warning him my defective genetics were a mystery they couldn't be held liable for. He broke up with me weeks later, citing my toxic family dynamic and resenting parents. The final straw happened last spring. I won a massive national grant for an AI startup I was developing. When a wealthy investor approached our table at the banquet to praise my intellect, my dad smirked and said, "We're just as surprised as you are. We're still hoping her biological parents show up and claim her." The investor looked visibly disgusted and awkwardly walked away. I sat there gripping my napkin. I realized they cared more about their stupid punchline than my actual existence. So, I decided to play their game much better. Their 25th anniversary was coming up. It was a massive catered affair, and they asked me to give a speech. I spent weeks preparing, not the speech, but the evidence. I fabricated a highly official medical dossier. I took a generic 23andMe ancestry layout and completely altered the genetic markers. I mocked up a detailed pediatric blood type chart, proving 2 O-positive parents couldn't possibly produce an AB-negative child. I bound it all in a sleek leather portfolio. The night of the party, the room was packed with over 100 guests. Madeline gave a poetic speech about their enduring love. Then, it was my turn. I grabbed the microphone. I told the crowd that after 24 years of hearing I couldn't possibly be theirs, I finally investigated. I opened the portfolio and projected the fabricated blood type chart onto the massive screen behind me. I calmly explained the biological impossibility of our shared genetics. Then, I displayed the doctor DNA registry showing 0 match to my sister. The ballroom went entirely dead silent. My mother's face turned ash white. My father's jaw dropped. I kept my voice incredibly soft. I looked directly into their panicked eyes and thanked them for their boundless charity. I said I finally understood why they felt so disconnected from me and favored Madeline. "It makes perfect sense now," I said softly into the microphone. "Blood matters. I don't blame you for resenting a stranger, but I am incredibly grateful you kept me anyway." My mother let out a loud, strangled sob and buried her face in her hands. My dad knocked his chair over, standing up, aggressively stammering that the documents had to be wrong, and I was absolutely their daughter. I just smiled, closed the portfolio, and calmly walked back to my seat.